Let's get back to Bob Chapman. Bob, anything that you disagreed with or you would take issue that Ted Anderson said?
Not at all. And I just saw the USDX index is trading at exactly 75, down 80 on the day, almost a full penny or a full percentage. And that's dreadful. I mean, that's really a big hit. And so what Ted says is true. It's headed downward. And it's not going to stop. I mean, they've abandoned the dollar internationally is what's happening. And you must, with those funds that you have for investing, they have to be in gold and silver-related assets.
But the stock market is up over 116 points. We're over 10,000 again. Happy days are here again.
I tell you why. They had their G20 meeting in Scotland over the weekend, and it was a non-event. They're not going to do anything about anything, because if they were to do something about everything, what they would do is collapse the system, because if you raise interest rates and you stop injecting money and credit into the world economy, never mind the U.S., what's going to happen is the whole house is going to come tumbling down. And so the stock market looks at that and they said, aha, more of the same. So we're going to go a little bit higher here.
All right, let me go to the phone calls. Ruth in North Dakota. Ruth, you're on with Bob Chapman. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, hi. Bob, yes, I have a question for you. If they have a one world currency, what would happen to gold and silver? Would it drop in value, or what would happen if they just discontinued the whole thing and went to a one world currency?
Well, if they have a one world currency and it is not backed by gold, gold will trade at what people think it is worth against another fiat currency, whether it's the special drawing right known as an SDR, or whether it's a package of currencies like the G20 currencies, where they're all put together in an index, trading 24 hours a day, second by second, and weighted just like the USDX is. If they don't use gold, gold is going to continue to trade at a very high, if not higher level, as they start creating debt in the new currency.
All right. Thank you very much, Ruth, for the phone call. Tom in Kansas City. Tom, you're on the air. Go ahead, please, with Bob Chapman.
Yeah, Bob, I think you're aware of Jim Percy and the mortgage that he deals with. And he wrote that you said this Boyko decision says that if your mortgage is held with MERS, that your mortgage company has no standing to foreclose on your property. Is that accurate?
Yes. 3 courts ruled on that. The last one, I think, was a federal district court in Boston.
And he cited a Kansas Supreme Court case.
Right, we've covered that quite a bit on the program here, that the Kansas Supreme Court is the one that kind of initiated that. And if your mortgage is backed by MERS, and there is a website you can go to find out if your mortgage is backed by MERS, then it's obviously, it appears now that it is, they cannot compel you to pay.
So when you say get out of debt, I suppose that you don't mean that debt, because apparently we don't owe that. Is that correct?
You do owe it, but they can't find it, and they don't know who owns it. And Goldman Sachs may say they own it, but do they? They have to go find the actual paperwork. Quite frankly, I don't think they have it. And I think it's going to cause a tremendous problem. But it's not the fault of the mortgage holder. It's the fault of the lender of the mortgage. And what they did is they sliced and diced all of these mortgages, and they put pieces of them in different bonds. I mean, the whole thing was insanity. They figured no one was ever going to look back, and all they wanted to do is grab as much money as possible as quickly as possible. And now what they've got is a monster, because all of those loans are not going to be collectible, and those people are going to be able to live in those houses until they come up with the paperwork proving that they own them, which in many instances they won't be able to. And so the mortgagee, the mortgage owner, will live happily ever after.
Okay, thank you very much for the phone call, Tom. I think we need to give credit where credit is due. I think that's the research that came from Billy Joe Malden, and I want to thank him for that. Let's go to Sherry in Kansas. Sherry, you're on the air with Bob Chapman. Go ahead, please.
Morning, y'all.
Morning.
Bob, would you tell us what you know to be true about this Leo Wanta money? Because I heard it was in Bank of America and that it's been taken by Bernanke and Paulson when he was Secretary Treasury, and could that be why they're wanting to bring Bank of America down?
It could be one of the reasons, and I'm in touch with Richard Story all the time, and I don't see any way that they can easily prove what they're saying. It may very well be true with the want of money, if you may, but you can't get a handle on it because you can't find out anything other than what Richard has to say. And it's been going on for, 6 years now.
Who is Richard Story?
He is a reporter, has a publication out of London. And he introduced himself to me a couple of years ago, and we exchanged information.
And did you know that
I threw this in. I was talking to some people in Killian over the weekend, and they told me that not only did this shooting go on there during the weekend, at Fort Hood, but and this has got to be treated as a rumor because they don't have full documentation of what I'm going to tell you. And that is that a large shipment of gold was being moved through Fort Hood over that weekend, this past weekend.
Yeah, I've seen that internet rumor a lot. He was one of the people promoting that, I believe, Richard Story. I just thought I would tell you Richard Story also recently announced that the Power Hour and Alex Jones are CIA operations.
Well, I'm glad he finally exposed it, aren't you?
You know, I think that is, I want to say to people, if you depend upon someone like Richard Story, and they don't retract their stories, they don't provide any proof for it, I mean, why believe these people after they've told the first lie and have gotten away with it and wouldn't retract it? Why are we supposed to believe them? You know, the old thing of doing on depositions, were you lying then or are you lying now? So I just have very little credibility.
No, I agree with you. And, unless there's a specific provable case of something, and of course in this case it's not, Richard shouldn't be doing it. It's sensationalizing.
That's right.
And there are other people who do that on the network who are on all the time. And I really resent it. I don't like it. They're selling a product and it's wrong.
Well, I'm going to invite Richard Story on the air. Hey, if you've got that information, share it with the world. That's how.
Do it.
Yeah.
Do it.
Yeah. So you can tell him, since you're in communication with him, that he has an open opportunity to come on the Power Hour.
I will email him this morning and tell him that you would like to have him on the program so he can expose you.
That's right.
How much are they paying you at the CIA, incidentally?
See, it's how much they're paying him, maybe, to do what he's doing. Let's go to Mike in Tennessee. Mike, who's not paying me anything. Mike in Tennessee, you're on the air. Go ahead, please, with Bob Chapman.
Bob, I think it was back in August, you said that there was a way that we could stop the collapse and that if something happened, we could recover quickly. Do you recall that?
First of all, what you would do is get rid of the Federal Reserve. Second, you would stop the revolving door between Washington and New York City and cut all those people out and bring people in who, and there's plenty of them throughout America, to work even for limited amounts of time as federal workers, bureaucrats, if you may, in Washington. And I think that could really get things going quickly. You would have to devalue the currency. There's just no question because it's been so debauched. And you'd have to expect, and the people would have to expect.
Okay, we got a 3-minute break. We'll be right back, and I'll let you finish that statement. Stay tuned to the Power Hour.